Okay, here we are with Mike Florindo, and we're going to do a little Photoshop tutorial here. He submitted some images and had some stuff in the background, and I just want to show a different technique to maybe removing some of that unwanted stuff in the background. So we'll start a screen share here, and you should be able to see my Lightroom library.
Yep,
you see my Lightroom, Mike?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So you posted an image that didn't have this paddle boat or whatever and this person in the back with here. That's your JPEG, and you sent me the RAW. I do remember you saying something about the redness in their face, and I'm not seeing that in your RAW image. I think you've got really nice skin tones in this RAW image here. I'm going to hide this panel, make that a little bigger, where, oh, I think that's a really great skin tone.
Okay.
compared to this, which probably came in through processing.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it's a monitor calibration issue or it's just a different look you're going for. But I think the exposure and the color on their face and everything is great. Now it looks like you used a small light source, speed light.
Yeah, it was a strobe.
I can tell that because see that transition from here to here, how fast it goes?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about by hard light. That's a very distinctive line between highlight and shadow. Where soft light would be very gradual. See the difference in this highlight to shadow, how gradual that is?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So I'm going to start with your RAW. If I saw any problem with your RAW image, I would say your shadows probably need to be opened up.
Okay.
A little bit. And another thing you can do to open up your shadows without running your shadow slider way high is bring your contrast down.
Okay.
Okay. And then use your white and black sliders to bring some contrast back in. But that's still, I'll go before and after. See how it gives me a little more opening in those shadows, but still maintains a contrast.
Yeah.
And it looks to me that you're running your clarity up on a lot of your images.
Yeah.
And getting a look like that. That comes down to a personal taste. I personally like a cleaner look than that much clarity, but not that it's wrong or right. That's just a personal style.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to leave.
I think that comes from my landscapes.
Yes. Well, you got to probably treat those a little different. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta start changing my mindset a little bit on post-processing.
So, okay. Well, I'm just going to open this up in Photoshop and show you technique to get this. And I'm going with the RAW file. Well, there's your JPEG one. Let's let this other one come in. Okay, why did it not come in? Open anyway. Okay. Let's try this. Let me export that. That's strange, but it's okay. Oh, but I'm afraid that's going to put a watermark on it. It's okay. Yep, it sure did. That's all right.
That's all right. We're just,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you this little paddle bolt area here and how to get rid of this. Okay. And there's lots of different ways. I always recommend you duplicate your background layer so you can always come back to it. That needs to be your first step off the bat. But I agree with what you did. You got a nice capture. You took it, and you kind of had to not worry about the background. One thing to keep in mind is, I don't know if you're working on a tripod or not, but if you see that expression and you take a few images, take a couple of the scene without anybody in it, so then you have some reference.
Okay.
And it's a little bit easier to maybe stack those together, and then you can get rid of stuff really easy. That's what I call that clean shot. I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel that talks about that.
Yeah, I actually watched it the other day with the piano.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a helpful technique and stuff like this too. Okay, so we duplicate. Clone stamp is a way to do it. You can do a patch tool. I'm going to run through those real fast and then show you my preferred method. So clone stamp, you know, it's just going to take a pixel and replace it. Okay, you got to tell it what to select and then you go over it. This can be very tedious, and it's really easy to make this not look believable. It starts looking really clumpy and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think that's what I did.
So, and you can get a bigger clone stamp and try to do it, but if you pull back and do the whole thing, it's very obvious that I've got repeating patterns through there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one method. The patch tool, which is J, it's this little, looks like a blue jean patch.
Mm-hmm.
It works good, and if you'll go to destination mode, up here where it says source or destination, click destination, then you can circle a piece and then move that over, and it'll try to blend them together. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. See how it got a little bit of that red bleeding through? And so this may take, I mean, there it's getting rid of it, but it's not probably the best situation for this because there's so much contrast. Worked pretty good on the top part, but if I try to get around his leg, I'm going to have some issues here. It's going to pull stuff from his pants.
Yeah,
okay.
I had that problem too.
So all of these methods used together can work. Then you can go back, and if you need to clean up certain areas, change this back to source. And the difference in these is destination, you click a clean spot and cover what you want to get rid of. Source is you select the thing you want to get rid of and you move it to a clean spot. So now I could get rid of that one and move it to this clean spot. So it's the same process, it's just which one are you moving? Okay. So that's fair. That's not horrible. Okay. So in this, I'd probably use a combination of the patch tool and what I'm about to show you. And this is doing a duplicated layer and erasing mode. So I think we talked about this before, but I know it's a lot to take in. So I want 3 layers. Okay. And I'm going to label layer 1 erase just for this tutorial. I don't do this every time. And then move. Okay. Do you see how I change those layers?
Yeah.
So my top is erase. I want to select my eraser tool. And I want to cover a smaller area. And I'm going to start with the soft edge, my hardness down. Okay. I'm going to erase a little bit of this red. I'm going to get as close to his pants as I can get. And you can't see it erased because that move layer is underneath it. So if I turn off these layers, you can tell that I erased it.
Okay.
But if I turn the layers back on, you can't because there's underneath it.
Yeah.
Now I hit my move layer, and I use my move tool, just like it says. And now I can move elements up to where I just erased. Okay. Sometimes you can do this in one thing. With an object like this, it's going to take several different times of the same process.
Okay.
Okay. So I go back to my erase layer, and now I have to merge it down. So now I have just those 2. Duplicate that layer again. So I've moved copy. So now this would be erase again, right?
Yeah.
And let's erase this one corner here. So I'm going to erase a little area like this. Show you what I erased right there. Go to move. Then I can move it in this way.
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Then I would merge, duplicate. Of course, this would be erase again. Like I said, I don't rename them every time. I'm just doing it for the sake of the tutorial. Then I might erase this little section. And then move, and then move over. Okay? So now I'm going to merge down. Now we're getting a little bit of this repeating pattern, right? Like we had with the clone stamp. This is where I will get my patch tool again, and I'll be on source mode. And I'll just kind of feather these out and blend in some of that. So now I'm patching very small areas. I'm not trying to replace a whole big section of goop. So now when I zoom back out, wrong button, it doesn't look as repetitive.
Yeah.
So maybe I could take that. So now I can start, because patching in small areas works really well. When you start patching in big areas, that's when you can have problems. So you got to do more. You duplicate again. Go to erase and erase a little more of the section. See where I erased, right?
Yeah.
Go to my move, and then I can move. But see, if I move too far, I start moving the layer out.
Yeah.
So I can't move as far. Go back, merge, patch tool, stuff like that. So what you could do in almost a case like this is, let's start with the patch tool at destination. And let's try to cover a big area. So I can cover a bigger area like that. Clean this up just a little bit, maybe. And then I could go to erase. And so now I don't have to erase as much detail. So sometimes it's not just one method or the one, it's a combination of several different tools.
Okay.
Let's go to source, okay. So now I'm starting to get one that's a little more, the little red reflection doesn't bother me as much as that whole paddle boat.
Yeah.
You know. And so now it's not looking quite, well, there's a little bit, but I can start fine-tuning that in small little segments. Okay?
Okay.
Now when you get to his pant leg, this is the tricky part. You either have to erase with a very hard brush and get it smaller, and erase right on the edge and hope you don't go into anything. Right? Which can be and then it starts looking too fake. So with this, I would erase a very small segment and I would get some of the pant leg. I'm going to erase, see, I'm going over the pant leg.
Yeah.
And then when I move, I can move that pant leg up with it or down with it.
Okay.
And try to keep that. And sometimes you have to transform that layer underneath there. And so there, but this I'm going to have to go very small segments.
Yeah.
And this is why I like to use a clean shot. A clean shot would have been done 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Okay, so then I can duplicate and erase maybe this yellow up here, very small segment. And then I can move that pant leg down and nudge it. See how it doesn't line up there?
Yeah.
So this is where I would have to transform that layer underneath it and try to rotate it in and move it again, and it gets very, very tedious.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the clean shot would have been a lot easier.
Okay, so there I got it. And then I can patch and patch. So like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's this process.
Yeah.
A lot of times I can patch that leg back together, right? Maybe there. Got that weird color cast because it picked up the red.
Yeah.
So once all that's gone, you can come back and fine tune that, or you could clone stamp portions of the pant back in. So you got a nice clean edge there. I could stamp that clean edge back. But like I said, that's going to be very tedious work to keep doing that. So a clean shot would have been a nice method. So it's really a combination of probably all three of those to get something out like this.
Okay.
Now, if you just wanted to remove like an exit sign or something, this works fantastic. Or if I wanted to remove this this little stump right there, you know, this would work great for that. Because that's just one. The back, it's all very similar contours. I can erase that and move it. So it works really great for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Without it starting to look cloney. I guess cloney is that. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, though.
So
you also mentioned something about adding a layer to tone down the harshness of the light, or would that be a different tutorial?
Oh, you're talking about how red it was.
Okay.
So if I go to your JPEG one that you had already processed, and it was really red.
Yeah.
I'll go to channels, and I'll hit command. I'll hold down the command. Are you Mac or PC?
PC.
Okay, you'll hold down control and click on red. And see how I get the marching ants around the red channel?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to go to layer or select, modify, and then I just want to smooth this by maybe 2 or 3 pixels just to give me a little smoother area.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go back to layers with all of my marching ants, and I will add a solid color layer. And you want to make sure you keep it on the left edge of this thing so it's gray. You don't want to tone it. Okay? Now I like to go a little bit more than middle gray, like around 150. And then I change that blend mode to soft light. And then I can come in here once it's in soft light, and I can see how I can kind of brighten that without losing a lot of contrast.
Okay.
And pull down that red.
Cool.
Now in some severe cases where it's really red, you need to add green back to it to counter out you can move this to your green, and then you can go in a little bit towards the green.
Okay.
You don't want to go too far to the green, or then it starts looking like they have some disease.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my main problem at this point in processing is processing the background and then keeping the skin tones where they're natural looking.
Okay.
So I'm such a landscape guy. I see what I want in the background, and I get that correct, but then their skin tones are off, and and it's the balance is hard for me.
Okay. You have Lightroom?
Yeah.
Okay. I recommend in Lightroom, I don't know, see what your camera calibration is here.
Okay.
Camera neutral tends to be really good. Can you see the difference that made?
Oh, yeah.
That puts no camera effects onto your image. So whether you have contrast or saturation or sharpness boosted in your camera,
okay,
it removes all of that when you go to camera neutral.
Okay.
It zeroes those out. So then you have more effective control within Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw or whatever processor you're using. Okay. And you can set this when you import to change that because it's going to default on this Adobe standard.
Okay.
Okay. And look, if I go to landscape, it's going to be it's going to add all that saturation and contrast that camera landscape thing does.
Okay.
So I like camera neutral. That's just me. I think it gives me the cleanest slate to start with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then you want to work basic down. These are designed in an order that you start at the top and you go to the bottom.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I normally do. And then when I get to the bottom, I'll start at the top again.
Yep. So you would start at white balance since it's the first one. Get your if you want it warmer, get your white balance where you like it. And then you can adjust your exposure and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my workflow, like I said. And then once I get to the bottom, I'll start at the top again, because sometimes when I adjust things, it makes, I want to redo the exposure again or something,
Right. Well, sometimes it will. Kind of a rule of thumb I have is when you increase exposure, you need to increase contrast.
Yeah.
A little bit. And another thing is I never like my contrast and my clarity going in the same direction unless they go to about no more than 15.
Okay.
So let's look. If I bring my contrast up to about 20 or so, and I bring my clarity up, it gets really, really super contrasty.
Yeah. Okay.
If I bring my contrast down and my clarity up, I still get that nice clarity, but I don't have all that crunchy contrast from bringing it up here.
Okay, I see.
So if I want it softer, I may bring my clarity down, and then I'll bring my contrast up. So then I have a nice soft image. Oh, wrong slider. Nice soft image, but my contrast isn't getting mushy. So now if I bring clarity down and contrast down, look how mushy it gets.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
So I like to move those opposite, because all clarity is mid-tone contrast.
Okay.
It's just another level of contrast. So if I had a formula, my contrast is usually down about 10 or so. My clarity's up about 10.
Okay.
That's kind of my default. And then I can use my white and black sliders and my highlight and shadows to start playing with specific tones.
Okay.
So this is all global. This is all very global. It doesn't know if it's a skin tone or a tree or a mountain, right? Use these hue inside this HSL panel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use that a lot.
Because then you can selectively, well, his skin has red, yellow, and orange in it. So now I can adjust his skin. So if his skin got really red, I can bring down the red channel in saturation and then the red brightness. And I'm only affecting those red tones.
Okay.
See how I can bring down the brightness of his skin with this orange slider?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way in Photoshop to select the people and then only affect a non-selected area?
Yes.
Okay. I know we're probably getting way off of the tutorial here.
Yeah, we are, and I know you're almost out of time. You can make a selection several ways. One, you can do this top panel in your Photoshop. You see these little lines that divide it?
Yeah.
All of these are selection tools.
Okay.
But from this line to this line, these are all pixel-related tools. Burning, dodging, selecting, brushing, stuff like that. And then you have vector tools and so on and so forth. So these are all your selection tools up here.
Because sometimes what I like to do is I like their skin tone, I like the people, but I don't like the background. And I only want to globally change the background, like colors and saturation and such.
Well, a couple ways to do that. You can try to select by channels. So I can do like this and just select a green or a red or a blue channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can use a marquee. Let's do a round marquee. And I can try to circle just his face. Okay. So then if I get a brush, and I'll make this really weird, if I get a brush that's red, it's only going to let me draw on that circle. See?
Okay. Oh, no. What I'm wondering is, can you select like the people, and then just like you would in Lightroom, do all your adjustments, and it would only affect the non-selected area or the selected area?
Yeah, just like this. You would you'd use a selection tool. So this is a basic selection. So I just did the brush to show you it's only affecting the area inside.
I see. Okay.
So if I wanted to do a levels adjustment, let's say in or a color adjustment, I could go to my color balance, and I'm going to make this really severe. It's only going to affect what's inside that selection.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
And then it puts it on a layer mask that you can fine tune. Now, obviously that's a poor selection because it's very hard edged, but that kind of shows you a way to do that.
Okay.
You can select with the lasso tool, or you can draw. You know, and that'd be the same thing.
Okay.
So now I can bring a black and white, and it's only going to select inside my selection.
Okay, I see.
So you can get as detailed with your selection or as loose with your selection as you want. The magic wand, you know, you can shift and click and try to select all those same tones, but that's a lot of different selection you have to do to try to keep them different.
Okay.
In Lightroom, if you're going to do that, I would use your adjustment brush.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the easiest way to do that. So if you want to change the color of their face, you can just brush in on their face. And you can see my flow is really low. It's only affecting that area there.
Yeah, okay.
So, all right.
All right, perfect.
Okay, well, it's almost noon. I know you got to run. I've got to run.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. Really appreciate your help.
You bet.